Not saying record. Okay, welcome to Tony at 12. I'm Tony LeBlanc, and today I'm in conversation with Lisa Millan, coordinator of Alderney Mind, and we're going to discuss mental health and Alderney Mind. And of course, it's been 6 months since we last spoke, so hello and welcome.
Hello, Tony. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much, and I hope you are as well.
Yeah, very well, thank you.
A few things have been going on since we last spoke, and you've got new locations, apparently.
We do. So we've been really lucky, and we've had a big building in Olivia Street, a 2-story building with lots of space. But the building itself has been on the market for some time, which we knew would be the case. So it's kind of come to that point where we needed to kind of make a decision and move elsewhere, get something that's permanently ours. And so yeah, we've sort of made that decision, and we've managed to get an office just across the road, so we're very close still, that we can provide one-on-one sessions, and we're going to be using other places on the island to do our groups, which is really exciting, because it means we get out a bit more and a bit more in the community.
So what, places like the Island Hall, Butte Centre, or what have you got in mind?
We're going to be using, so to start with, we've got a Babes and Bumps group that's once a week at the moment. We'd like to do a couple more sessions with that, but at the moment we've got one Babes and Bumps group, and we're going to be using the Methodist Hall for that group, which is brilliant. The Methodist Hall is wonderful. And then we're going to be using the Bray Beach lounge, downstairs lounge, for our weekly drop-in. So that's when people come and have a coffee and talk about any issues they might have. And then we're going to be creating some new groups next year. And you know, other places like the Blonde Hedgehog have offered some spaces. So what we're trying to do is keep it all very private still, using places that aren't going to be seen by everybody, so that you can still keep that sense of privacy. But we're really lucky to have really nice places to use, and I think it's just going to get us out there a bit more and get us more involved with the community, which is what we want.
Yeah, because I guess, you know, a very nice office, Millennium House and everything else, but people, I think, perhaps would be a little bit scared of going in there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's come up actually in the last couple of weeks, talking to various people, is that, you know, it's quite a daunting thing to walk into a big centre, not know sort of what's going on there. And although it's a beautiful space, and we've made it's sad because we've made it so lovely and relaxed, and the way we've put things in there, it's a really nice space. I think it just gives there's a bit more relaxed environment in different places. So there's no, you know, you could be going to the Bray Beach Lounge for any number of reasons. You're not necessarily going to go to for a meeting. And the Methodist Hall, you know, it's not such a private group, the Babes and Bumps. But again, it's just being able to keep things a little bit private. And with having the office across the road, where we can do one-on-one sessions, you know, we've still got, again, a private space where you're not going to be interrupted. And we've got sort of window things coming that it's all going to be very private. And yeah, we're quite excited about it, actually.
How are you getting out the information as to where the next meeting, you know, group meeting will be? Using the radio and things like that?
Yeah, so we've been using the radio a lot over the last couple of years. They've been fantastic. And just at the moment, we've only really just confirmed places. So at the moment, we're having new posters made. And then we obviously use Facebook and Instagram to sort of promote that. And then once we've got sort of everything set in stone, we'll be letting the radio know, just to do a change of venue for places. The Facebook page is quite good because we can get things out there, but also the people that are already attending are aware that we're moving. And so we didn't want to, because sometimes people get very used to their surroundings, and people were used to the centre, those that were coming, and so it's quite a big change sometimes. So it was all discussed with the people at that already attending things, and they're quite excited about trying something new places and things. So it will be the radio, word of mouth, the usual things on Alderney that get stuff out there, posters. Yeah.
The human grapevine.
Yeah,
the bush telegraph.
Yeah, for a good reason, not for a bad reason.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now let's move off the premises and get on to the specific subject. And of course, COVID must have had a major impact in the case of mental health, and it's a continuing situation. Um, I've sort of categorized it. Job security and loss of income must be a big worry for people.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you know, some people have been really lucky to be able to work from home, jobs that they can do on the computer, Zoom meetings. But you've got people like small businesses, pubs and restaurants and hotels having to, even the shops in town, it's really scary time because they've had to close their doors. And if you think of the amount of time we've had this pandemic for and going sort of in and out of lockdown, that's a lot of income being lost.
Yeah.
And it has a huge impact on people. I believe the first lockdown there was a lot of help from the States, but I think with the second lockdown there wasn't as much financial support, for whatever reasons they have for that. So I think it's a scary time, and you sort of look at it and the fact that people are frightened to get COVID, but not so much now because of being poorly, but also because of not being able to go to work. And so, I find that a lot of people are more frightened to have to be off work than they are of actually catching the virus, and obviously that's still really scary, and a lot of people, nobody wants to catch it, but there's that element of it now, which is thrown something in the mix. So wonder why people might not report the fact that they've got it or not say anything, is because, it's scary not being able to go to work. The tradesmen, the builders, again, they're all sort of, there's no necessarily any sick leave or anything like that. So once you're off,
you're
not
earning.
You're not earning, and you've still got rent to pay. You can't afford to sit at home for 10 days. That some people is massive.
Yeah, it is a great concern. There's no doubt about that. So people now, bearing in mind that we're pretty well jabbed, and being an old wreck, I've had my booster. Obviously the concern isn't quite as great. But having said that, we have had cases recently, haven't we? And some hospitalizations. So right. it hasn't gone away. Do people actually come to you and say, look, I really am scared about catching it?
Yeah, we've had people come in and talk to us about catching it, the worry that, or they've got a family member that they're worried that they're going to catch it and pass it on. That's been quite a big thing, that they've separated themselves from family because they were scared that they were going to pass it on to them. So yeah, people are frightened to catch it. It's an unknown sort of pandemic. You still don't know, regardless of whether or not you've been jabbed, how you're going to be affected by it.
Yeah.
And with healthcare systems being completely overrun, there's that scary element as well. Being on Alderney is will you be able to receive the care that you need? You can certainly from this hospital, but there's only so much we can do here.
Yeah. And I suppose going back to lockdown itself, particularly the first one, must mean a lot of your clients that were possibly suffering from claustrophobia, being imprisoned almost.
Yeah.
How did you get around that one? I mean, were you sort of in contact with them by phone and stuff like that?
It was a really difficult one because we the best time for everyone to meet when it's regards to mental health and getting out is our drop-ins and things. That was, for some people, that was a highlight of their week. They would come and have a coffee and talk to people and see people. Now, we forget that not everybody can use Zoom or wants to use Zoom. It doesn't matter whether you're young or older. People don't necessarily like it. They don't have computer access. There's lots of reasons. So we were doing our very best to contact people via telephone. I was talking to a lot of people through the week. It was just basically chatting and saying that we're still here, and and that there were really good places on the island delivering food and things like that, and meals, and there was a lot of community support. But if people weren't sure about how to get it, we would ring them and advise them how to get in touch with people. But other than being able to use phones, it was really difficult, and it for some people that just wasn't okay. And I could sit on the phone for an hour talking about someone's dog, but they needed that interaction.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
tell somebody something. And then encouraging people to get in their gardens, and do stuff outside or go for their walks and stuff. But there's many people that can't do that. So other than the telephone, and we did offer Zoom sessions. So we took our drop-in to Zoom. So it would be a group of people talking like we are, but all together in different sort of pictures, you know, and you could have a good chat like that. And that was quite popular. Guernsey Mind they even did their singing group on Zoom. So there'd be lots and lots and lots of people all singing on Zoom, and that was fantastic. So and any of our Alderney sort of residents could join the Guernsey groups as well. So if they contacted me or anyone sort of within Mind, they could access that. So I know a couple of people joined from here in Alderney, joined these singers in Guernsey, and you know, it's just really nice it was another way of getting communication. Yeah, people suffered really badly with an already isolated sort of place to live, to be isolated even more.
Yeah, and the thing is, of course, that a lot of people in ordinary times suffer from loneliness. And of course, you know, with the lockdown situation, that was, you know, getting worse and worse, presumably.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's living on Alderney, as you know, it's a small place, and people need interaction. That's why you meet outside, you go for dinners, you go to the pub. It's just about communicating with people. And it's when you sort of take that away, it's really scary. And a lot of people that were seeing family weren't seeing family. You know, myself included. I visit my mum and dad and my nan very regularly, and not being able to do that for such a long time, I did feel lonely. Although I have my children and my partner at home, I did feel lonely because I wasn't seeing too many people. You know, we were lucky to have people at home, but you can only imagine what someone that lived by themselves, like my nan did, you know, it was a lonely time for her.
Yeah. Very, very sad. Anyway, hopefully things are bucking up as far as COVID's concerned. And I did hear a leading scientist a couple of weeks ago on, I think, Radio 4, saying that eventually this thing will weaken down to the point that it would be just like a common cold, but that's probably going to be 2 or 3 years away at least. But so I think, you know, the future is hopeful.
Yeah, I think that's what we're hoping for, isn't it? That it will be, you know, and then on the other side of it, people think the world's never going to be the same again. Well, you know, it probably isn't, but you know, you've got to make the best out of a situation, I think. Feel lucky, and that you're in the position you're in. You know, a lot of the times you'd have to sort of take a bit of a reality check and think, well, you know what, we've been lucky, we've lived in a lovely place, we've got family members. Myself, you know, my mum and dad contracted COVID, but they were okay. The jab was there, they'd had the jab before. So you've got to think of it in the way that sort of count your blessings, really, and just sort of try and make the best thoughts out of it.
No, you of course you're dead right as far as that's concerned. Now, coming back to Alderney Mind, you've lost your on island services, counsellor Sharon and the physio Gary. So how are you getting around that?
So we've been, I mean, Sharon and Gary have done absolutely wonderful things in Alderney. They've been very supportive. They've helped us build what we've got now. And for different reasons, they're both sort of leaving us. Gary's still going to be working in Guernsey, but he's sort of taking a retirement from Alderney, and Sharon's moving on to do other things here. So what we're doing, obviously, we don't want to not have anyone on island. As I said before, it's kind of, there's something special about being able to be one-on-one with someone in a room with somebody, and it works better for both people involved. But, you know, being on a small island is not a particularly easy position to fill. Being a counsellor or a psychotherapist on a small island is a really tough job. So at the moment we're offering sort of Zoom or telephone consultations with Guernsey services. And, you know, in the new year, we're going to be looking at how we can sort of get somebody new here that can start doing one-on-one sessions. So it's all about just sort of, at the moment, we're just planning and looking into things and trying to get what we can for Alderney. It's not an easy job to fill. So it's not a case of just get someone new in. That, you know, Alderney is, you've got to want to live here, you've got to enjoy living here, then you've got to deal with a lot on top of that. You know, it's hard to be a counsellor here because everybody knows everybody. So, you know, ideally it would be great if we had someone away again, like Gary was, who could then come over once every fortnight and see people and then go back to their sort of daily life somewhere else. But it's a difficult position to fill. So we're not dropping anything. We're going to use the Guernsey services as much as we can. But, you know, again, Alderney Mind's a signposting service. So we've been lucky to have what we've had. Really, you know, it's been a luxury for us to have Sharon and Gary. So hopefully we'll find an alternative in next year.
I mean, is it difficult to train as a counsellor? Is it a long course or anything like that?
Yeah, it will be. I mean, you know, you can do lots of little courses and things, sort of, but I mean, it's a good few years. It's something that it depends on how far you want to go with it. So, you know, there's plenty of counsellors out there and psychotherapists that would be fantastic for the job. It's just getting them to be here. And then adjusting to being in that position on a small island with a small community. That's really tough. You know, you're going to be out at some point with one of your clients, and you know, it's not easy to be out in a different situation, and that's difficult. And I think people should understand that, really, that's a really hard thing for people to do.
It's very easy to get lost in Guernsey with a population of 65,000, but not so easy here with a population of 2,000.
No, and I think people are pretty good on Alderney to realise that, you know, you don't want to be sitting somewhere. A doctor would have the same problem. You don't want someone coming up to you in the middle of your dinner asking you to check your feet. You know, it's just not something that you want to happen. But it can work the same way. So you've kind of got to be a specific type of person, I think, to take on that role. But so I said, ideally, it would be nice to have someone like what Gary did, was coming over every fortnight and then could go back, but kept that. And then for people that are happy with Zoom and telephone, we're offering those right now. So, you know, we're having a bit of a block on referrals at the moment because we're overrun with referrals. So in February of next year, we'll be taking on new referrals. People can go on a waiting list for February next year. It's just happening in Guernsey as well. And then we'll sort of pick up again in February for referrals. And by then, hopefully, we'll have some more people in place, which would be fantastic.
I mean, how many people are active clients as far as you're concerned?
So we've seen over 100 people between Sharon and Gary. At the moment, we've got a waiting list of about 7 or 8 people that need to get some further help.
The point I was going to make is that's based on a population of 2,000. That's 5%, isn't it, of the population? Yeah,
we're always gobsmacked by it, and in Guernsey are. You know, it sounds. I mean, we don't have the amount of people on Alderney as we know as what Guernsey do, or and especially not in the UK. But when you look at it percentage-wise, it's huge. I mean, and so you can imagine the workload that we have has just grown and grown and grown, and we want to be able to keep up with that to the best we can. So that's why there's sort of a cap on referrals at the moment, because so we can get sort of recce again and get everything ready for next year to be able to continue to do it. People wouldn't think it, and I don't think we quite expected it to be so busy, but clearly it's needed, and it shows how much it's needed, which just makes us want to do more, you know, continue doing it.
So moving on from there, do you get any financial assistance or other assistance from either the states of Alderney or the states of Guernsey?
Yeah, so we do have, we did get a grant from the States that was, which you might have seen, it was published that we had a £15,000, £14,000 grant from the States, which was actually for this year. So we applied to the States for some funding to help us out with, obviously, this year it had been Sharon and Gary's wage, you know, because that's, you know, and so we just got that at the end of this year. So we'll be reapplying again before January, and then we'll see how we go. So we have to apply for any grants. Obviously, we take resources from Guernsey Mind as well. So if we need to be, we're affiliates of them. So they support us with things that we need and try and, you know, get our campaigns up and running. And we do fundraisers. Fundraisers are huge. And we've got a lot of new things that we're looking at for next year. You know, we just recently did the Pirate Day, Mel Broadhurst and Lucy Watson, and that was fantastic. And all those little events that they really count towards you know, us being able to do more. And we've had some amazing donations this year from different people and different places, which has been fantastic. So yeah, we do get a grant from the States, but we do need to apply for that. And then it's all, you know, depending on how they see it. And yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll help us out again next year.
I mean, at the risk of being controversial, and don't answer the question or the comment, I think
Yeah.
they should be helping you in any case, and you shouldn't have to be requesting grants. Right, let's move on. um,
Thank you,
mental
Tony.
mental health at Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always going to be a problem. Do you get help from the churches, spiritual help?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we obviously advertise things that are going on in the churches. We've got Tony and Jan Fowler that are the very they work with us really well, and we like to be able to let people know they can go there, what events are going on, and to sort of share the fact that there are other places that people can go to.
Yeah.
I think it's a lovely thing, and I think this year, because of COVID, because of the separation from people, it's going to be a really hard one. My brother I haven't seen my brother since he's never met my daughter, who's 2.5, nearly 3.
Yeah.
He's in Australia. And, it's kind of like we're going to miss him at Christmas. And so I think this year's going to be really hard on. So I think it's really important that people do go out and do things like in the churches. So we like to advertise and support that. We're doing a Christmas tree at the Methodist Hall this year, a charity fundraising Christmas tree, which is a brilliant idea. I don't know if everyone knows about those, but the charity, or people buy a tree and you decorate it. We're going to have our kids that come to the Babes and Bumps group make all the decorations themselves. And then there's displayed at Christmas time in the Methodist Hall or church. And yeah, so there are places to go. So we do like to, when people come to us, we do sort of let them know they can go to different places. But we've got a lot of support from all the sort of spiritual places here. So
yeah, of course. Yeah. One thing that hits me at the moment, and obviously this sort of slightly comes across to you as a matter, is the question of childcare difficulties on the island. That in turn creates more worry, possibly means people have to come along to see you to discuss these things. Is there any news about trying to resolve childcare?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot going on with this at the moment, but you're right, people do come because there's a huge financial problem for people, that you've got two people, a 2-parent household or a 1-parent household, and you need to go to work. You don't have anyone to have the children, and when it becomes the fact that your hourly rate is what you need to pay to have your children looked after, it's a little bit difficult to then decide, well, do you go to work or
Sure.
do you do that? It's a really difficult situation. And if you're a 1-parent household, it's even harder because you've got one income coming in, you've got no sort of support. So massively it is financial. Now, the play school at the Island Hall have been running, St Anne's Playgroup has been running for many, many, many years. And they've been trying to extend their hours that they can open, so to enable families to be able to keep their children there longer. At the moment, they can do some days until 12 and some days until 2 o'clock, which is fantastic. They can have their lunches there. But you've got the problem with the use of the Island Hall. It seems that the states don't feel that the play school can be permanently there. It's being used for other things. It's an Island Hall, so lots of other stuff goes on there. So they haven't got a permanent residence where they can keep all their equipment, and they don't have enough funds to be able to stay open later. So they've been really pushing for this for a really long time, and they're just not getting anywhere with it. So that leaves us sort of a bit stunted, because as parents you've got to go to work and earn money, but then where do you take your children?
And as you say, it's pointless if you're paying what your wages go straight to childcare. It's just
that's it.
Doesn't add up at all, does it, from that point of view?
It feels like there should sort of be, it would be fantastic if they could have a specific building or space where the children can go, and that it can be a thing. It can be a play group until 5 o'clock, and you've got that flexibility with hours with them. And it's not for want of trying, because they've tried really, really hard, petitions, letters, all this kind of thing, to get those hours. And of course you want young families to live on Alderney.
Sure.
So we're trying to encourage it, but yet it's a case of, well, come, bring your children, but you can't, there's no childcare.
No,
So
you
hard.
know, it is
Yeah,
quite daft from that point of view. Do
it
you,
is.
do you find any many mental health issues with children?
Well, we don't do under 16s.
Right. Okay.
So doesn't mean we're not aware of mental health with children. We give a lot of parent support if they're having issues with children's mental health. But I do know that, you know, in Alderney, the general routine would be to see a GP,
Yeah.
for a child to see the GP, and then the GP would do a referral or a recommendation or something. So but we do offer a lot of support to the parents that are struggling. You know, it might be parents, it might be no fault of their own, it might be something completely, you know, wonderful parents, but people struggle with mental health for lots of different reasons.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the parents are very aware of this, and they find that really hard and really sad because they feel they can't help. So we can give them the support in supporting their children. But as far as children go, I mean, you know, you've got the school. I know the school take it very seriously, and you can speak to like Cleo, she's head of youth commission here, and there's lots of different routes people can go down. But it is there. Mental health for children is there, and it is something that needs to I think that there needs to be more services for that.
Looking at what Alderney Mind offers, is there a charge for consultations?
No. So we've prided ourselves really on the fact that we've been able to do this without charging anyone. But that comes again into financial problems. If you are in need of mental health support, some of the issues could be that you financially, you know, you're struggling financially. Now, if you then can't get support for that, it's kind of a catch-22. It's like, well, where do you go then? You know, and so no, we don't charge for our services. That's what our fundraising is about. And we've worked really hard on that sort of side of things so that we can continue to do that. You know, we still have to fund therapists. So, you know, there's no volunteering to be a psychotherapist or a therapist. We still have to fund that. So that's what our fundraisers are about. Because we like to be able to offer that service to people when they need it, not take it because they can't afford it.
Yeah. No, that is the right and proper way of going about things.
So yeah.
Do you need volunteers?
We do. We're actually holding, I don't know if you've seen it advertised on Facebook and things, but we're holding a volunteers lunch tomorrow at the Blonde Hedgehog. And the lunch is basically a little thank you to the volunteers that have been helping us over the last couple of years. And also if anyone was interested in coming to find out what we're doing and how they might be able to help. So that's actually tomorrow from 12 till 2 at the Blonde Hedgehog.
Now, the problem is, of course, this show's not going out until Friday.
Yeah. But so that's okay.
So it was the day before yesterday.
It was lovely, thank you. We had a really nice time at our volunteers lunch.
So anyone wanting to make contact who didn't go to the volunteers lunch, they can come and see you at the office.
Yeah, or they can email me. lisa.millan@alderneymind.org.gg. You know, just send me an email or contact me any way you know how, really, because we do definitely need more volunteers. The more volunteers we have, the more manpower we have behind fundraising and group. And you know, we've had some wonderful volunteers over the last few years, and for whatever reason that sort of thins out, no fault of their own, but it's life. So we're seeing the move, and sort of next year is a bit of a refresh. And so a lot of things that, you know, and also equally, if people have got ideas that they think might help the mental health, they don't want to necessarily become involved, but they've been thinking about something that they think would benefit Alderney, let me know, because we're really, really keen to hear what people think and want. We can only work from what you know, it's the same thing. If we don't know, we can't do it. So we're always happy to get ideas come in.
Well, that's really what it's all about, isn't it? Now, you have charitable status, don't you?
We do have charitable status.
So you always welcome donations.
Yes, yeah, we do.
Be it money or volunteers. So
either way.
Yeah. Or both.
Both. We want it all, really. I mean, the volunteers can help us fundraise, so that's just as important as getting, you know, of getting donations. And we've had some lovely donations this year. Really lucky to have those. And I think that's just another sign that I think Alderney is accepting this service. There's a stigma attached to it. We know that, and you sort of look at things and you think of people that, you know, when we first started, it was a case of, well, who's involved? People cared more about who was involved with it than they did about what we were doing.
Yeah,
And actually, that's not really the right way to look at it. And if you're against something because someone's involved in it, then perhaps you should become involved in it. And, so I think that's just, again, by having donations, it keeps us going. They are really important, but also shows that we're being a bit more accepted.
Yeah. And it takes time. So how many years? How many years have you been going now?
So I've been doing it for about 2 years. For the first year, I wasn't here when the Alderney Mind was set up, and then I took on a part-time role to sort of help out. And then took on a full-time role about a year ago. So the centre was sort of created about 3 or 4-ish years ago. The guys from Guernsey came over from Alderney Mind just to see what we had here, and I think they were a bit shocked that we didn't actually have anything. No, so they thought they'd try something, and set up, and we had some brilliant sort of helpers, and some of them still involved to this day, and it's wonderful. And I think it was sort of something that has proven itself to be needed. We haven't had to push it to be, we're here. I think it shows in the figures that people come through the doors, and it doesn't matter who they are, what they're coming for. The fact is they're coming, and it's people struggle because, again, on a small island, it's confidentiality you worry about.
Yeah.
You get seen somewhere with somebody, and it's I could be in my office and someone could come in and say to me, "Oh, do you want your windows cleaning?"
Yes.
The next thing you know, oh, they're getting help from mine. That's how easy it goes. And that's not what it should be about. You should be able to go, it should, and even if you are, it's not something to be ashamed of, but we do pride ourselves on confidentiality, and we're pleased with how that's gone. In fact, it's been less of a problem than we thought it would be.
Well, that's good. Now, just to conclude, can you please remind us about the website address?
Yep. So the website address is www.guernseymind.org.gg. You can get all the Alderney information from there. So it's a joint website address. And on there, you've got contact details, information about what we do, and also what they do in Guernsey, because we can access a lot of the Guernsey groups. So even if there's something on there that you think you might want to look into, get in touch, because there are ways of us to get you involved in that as well. So we share a lot with Guernsey.
Well, that's good, isn't it? So
yeah, it's really good.
Can I say thank you very much for your time?
Thanks
it's been a
me.
pleasure to talk to you as
Always.
ever. And sometime in 2022
I'll be here.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you very much.
That's a pleasure. Thank you.